How you folks doing?
Well,
Sorry I'm on stage, but I'm so short you wouldn't see me otherwise. I was trying to think, what should I address? How could I give you something that you can walk away with today, a new tool in your toolbox, something that would be helpful? And I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll present some ideas that I have. I've been doing student affairs work for 20 years in many different colleges and universities in this country. And one of the things that I've learned that helps parents a lot, and it helps me a lot, is if we discuss how do we facilitate your students' college experience? How do we facilitate without over-facilitating? Now this is what I mean. Facilitation means literally, to make facile, to ease the way. By over-facilitate, what I mean is doing for the student what the student should do for him or herself. College is that time when they develop those skills where perhaps for the first time they need to negotiate in ways without mom or dad or some other adult like me present. Although I'm always here. But, and I thought, well, what example? Because I don't just want to preach to you for half an hour, preach to myself. What example could I use to look at facilitation and also some examples of over-facilitation that might be helpful? And I ran into this letter. And I found this letter years ago in a file. And it's a letter from my dad to me when I was a freshman in college. And I thought I might read it, and we could analyze it for examples where he's facilitating, and for some examples where perhaps he's over-facilitating my freshman year in college. If that's all right. He doesn't know I'm doing this today, so please don't tell him. The letter is so old that I had to get it laminated because it was falling apart. My wife calls it an artifact. You know you're getting old. You know you're getting old when you have a letter that shouldn't be in the museum. But here it is, as you can see. And look, I even laminated, so just to prove, I laminated the envelope as well. It's postmarked and everything. Now, before I read this letter, you need a little background information to be able to understand it. One, my roommate in college, my freshman year, is Martin. Okay? Two, my dad was trying to work some televisit hookup. This was a thing with Ma Bell, where you could call for a flat rate and had certain hours, because that's when long distance was really expensive. Remember that? And what else? Oh, Tessie is the name of my sister. I was taking an intermediate concentrated Spanish course, which meant 5 days a week. It was a 4-credit course. And if you got a B or higher in that semester, you got an extra 3 credits. That's 7 credits for one class. Not too shabby. And midterms, I had a C. Okay, and the White House was not the home of then President Jimmy Carter, but it was the best restaurant in my hometown. Okay, that's the background. So let me read this to you. Wednesday, November 9th, 1977. It's a little ominous when your parents date a letter to you. But it's great for things like this. Dear Lucas, well, it's me again, the pain in the A-, old man with more sermonizing. I was on the varsity wrestling team for 4 years, and he thinks I've never heard the word A-. The word sermonizing prepares me for what's about to come. I have called the telephone company and have arranged for the televisit hookup. You will be receiving a brochure in the mail. The service will start tomorrow, so you can use it this weekend. Remember, that Mom and I won't be home Friday, so call Saturday. The hours you can call are from 5 p.m. Friday until 7 p.m. on Sunday. During the week, it's only after 11 p.m., so it would be too late. Isn't that the cutest little thing ever? I was just getting going at 11. Keep track of the calls you make. The next sentence he underlines. You have to dial direct by dialing 1-715-834-6110. Like I forgot my I'm not making any of this up. If you and Martin use it, then you'll have to prorate the $6 per month. When you get the phone bill, mail it home or pay it with your check. Guess which I did. It won't be much. By the way, don't forget to reconcile your bank account. Now, I never did figure that out until I got married and saw my wife do it. Fascinating. Now, this is all a warm-up, okay? This is like business talk, right? We're just setting things up. Now you get to the real meat of the letter. Check out this first sentence of the next paragraph. Normally, when you have listened to your mother and me, it has always been too late. Dramatic. This is my November of my first semester freshman year of college, and I'm the oldest, so I didn't get any cheat notes from the older ones. Okay, this is unexplored, uncharted territory for me. Please get to meet your teachers. It pays. Use their office hours. Get to know them a little bit. I was talking to 2 professors from the university here, and they were telling me how important this was. I understand that you picked some courses for the second semester, and you didn't pick history of economics, but a more advanced economics. That wasn't a good idea. Didn't I tell you to go easy so you can build up your GPA the first year? The history of economics would give you a total exposure to the subject. You could tell from it if you liked it or not. I wanted to make these 2 points. 1, meet the TAs or whatever you call them. Don't worry if there are 300 students in the class. Now see, I went to a larger university. And the great thing is, at Belmont Abbey College, you're never going to have to give that advice. So I was complaining, and rightfully so, that I was just a number. Here, the professors know you by name. They know if you're at class, they know if you're not at class, they know your levels, your abilities, your talents. I didn't have that. I was in a C and lost. So he's bucking up my spirits. 2. You should change back to the history of economics. I thought you were going to take the same subjects the second semester, with the exception of Spanish. Remember, it's important that you get a B in Spanish. I don't know. Well, that's it. I hope you react well to my advice. See if you can call Saturday around 6:30 p.m. We are taking Tessie to dinner at the White House for her 3.8 report card. Love you very much. Dad. Oh, I get such a... I'm almost crying out of joy.
Did you get a B?
What's that?
Did you get a B?
Oh, see, don't This is typical dad right here. Outcomes, baby, outcomes. It's the real world, you know?
You go to the White House.
I have been to the White House. But I'm not done, let me tell you. I never understood why parents over-facilitate, why they do things for their students that they should do for themselves. Now, I have some pearls in here. One, I really should not have taken advanced microeconomics my second semester. Perhaps not the most prudent move. Okay, secondly, I do give advice, the same advice he gave me, to go into the office hours of your faculty, of your professors. It's very, very important. I tell the students this every year. When you go to see your professor, A, it shows your interest. Professors love that. Who doesn't? Right? B, you get hints. You get hints on the next test, the next quiz, the next paper, what you should cover, what you shouldn't. This is just called smart, real-world politics. You get a little view into that. Thirdly, if you're having troubles, if you're struggling with a certain lecture or a certain topic, the professor will help you through it. So very, very good advice. But did I really need all of that other stuff? Not at the time. November, I am nervous. Finals are looming. Okay, it just added more pressure. So here's the thing. Why do parents over-facilitate? Why do they nudge? Why do they push? It hasn't changed in many, many years. In fact, it's gotten more intense. You don't write letters anymore. You text 10 times a day. Have you woken up? Did you brush your teeth? Oh, I had a letter. Call on Saturday. What if I didn't? I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I was in church. You know? You got GPSs on those phones. You know who's in the church. So, why did I do? I never understood it until I became a parent. You see, I'm going to share something with you. A couple of months before the birth of my first child, I had an inordinate fear of diapers. I did. I know it sounds funny, it sounds ridiculous, but look, I was socialized my whole life to stay away from poop. Lucas here, poop there. That's the way it was. Now I'm being told, not only do I have to come into contact with it, that I have a moral obligation to do so. So I wasn't that thrilled. Well, the amazing thing is, okay, my daughter was born, and then there we were waiting for the first poop because, you know, you don't leave. Until if she doesn't poop for 20 years, you're there 20 years. You don't leave until they have that magical moment. All right? So I don't know, it's a little bit like liberation. Oh, we can go home, you know? So there it happened. She has her movement, whatever it is. And my wife, who was justifiably a bit tired at the time, delegates this duty to me. You know, I thought I'd get like number 2 or number 3. I could watch maybe for a couple weeks. No. Boom, had to do it. And I did it. And it was easy. And it was no big deal. Because the fear of coming into contact with poop was nothing, insignificant, trivial, compared to the miracle of holding my newborn daughter in my arms. And now I'm proud to say, several children later, I can walk, talk, chew gum, change diapers, probably text all. But here's the thing. As they get older, the messes get bigger and way more complex. But you have been so good at cleaning up the messes for 17 or 18 years that it becomes really hard to pull back. And that's the reality. Now I'm looking at you from my perspective. I can see all of your faces. You're all saying, "Oh, that's not us. That's not us. That's that couple over there." You know, we saw them talk to their child. That's them. And it's impossible to imagine at this point. After all, I mean, here it is. It's a beautiful North Carolina day. You've been looking forward to this. You probably already, contacted the subcontractor and have discussed changing the room into a spa. You can't wait, and the summer comes, and you love your daughter, but it's time to go. Yes, fly, little bird, fly. Okay, you get here in August, and everything's so wonderful, and everybody's friendly. Benedictine hospitality just brings you in. Part of the Abbey family now. Yes, darling, go. That's great. You wait for that first phone call. Until you get that first phone call, everything is great. Oh, Dad, it's wonderful. I love my roommate. She's like a long-lost sister. She helps me with my English paper. We even like the same music. Panic at the Disco or something. I don't know. What my daughter likes. She said, Panic at the Disco. I said, where? I'm looking at the newspaper for some tragedy. It's a music group. Everything is wonderful. It's great. And I'm telling you, in November, when the skies begin to turn and winter is on the horizon, you get another phone call. And this time, that long-lost sister is the spawn of Satan himself. Oh, Dad, everything's going awful. It's all my roommate's fault. She comes in late. She turns on the light. She wakes me up. Because you know, Dad, I always go to bed at 11:30 at night. She's the very reason that I got a D on that English paper. It's awful. And Dad, please, I got to decide. I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I'm losing my hair. Help me, Obi-Wan, Daddy. And now the pressure is on. Okay? And you want to pick up that phone and call whoever's in charge of that dorm. And you're going to remember this talk, so you're going to think of me. But here's the thing. Go ahead. But ask a question first before you call. One, by making that call, am I facilitating, easing the way? Or am I over-facilitating? Am I doing something for her that she should learn to do for herself? She should go to the residence life office and talk to the staff there. She should talk to her RA. She should look back at the roommate agreement. Perhaps that can be renegotiated. If that is really the source of the problem, the first communication should be with the roommate, with staff who are there to help them, with higher staff, because they're there to help them. The first line of communication should not be to bypass all of those steps straight to Dad, who can fix it for me. And what's happened generationally now, it's got more intense. And students have figured that out, that they can delegate some of those intervention activities to the parents. It makes their life much more efficient. I actually had a student who had a residential issue. And his mother started calling everyone in the college for something. All he had to do was talk to me. And so I brought him in and I said, and this isn't a freshman. This was like a junior. I said, you're a big boy. I said, why is Mom calling? Well, I waited, I was thinking about handling it, but she called me and she said, what should I do? I said, and here's the expression he said. He said, go monster mom on them, Mom. Go ahead, go monster mom. There's a term for it. And she did. And I fixed it in like 2 seconds. It was a reasonable request. So, the thing is, but it's become so easy. We've become so good at it that now, and we just don't want to hear the crying and the unhappiness right on the phone, and so we try to handle it ourselves. But the students themselves then don't get the skills. They don't develop the skills that they need to be successful in their own personal life and in their professional lives. So that's the reality. And I've had parents call professors and say, why did you give my student a C? I know, it's none of you folks. It was last year, back crop. And the professor, I mean, if I were the professor, I'd hang up the phone. But our professors are nice. Well, ma'am, he deserved a C. Well, I've read all of his papers. In fact, I helped to review this paper before he handed it in. I really think it's at least a B+. No matter how many papers that mother has read and edited, it pales in comparison to the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of papers that professor has read and edited. I think he can judge that paper better than you or I can. You and I, parents of student athletes, are not coaches. And you have made many, many sacrifices over the years. And I know you have. But we aren't coaches. I'm not a coach. I dealt with student athletes from the student affairs perspective. But I don't know the technical ins and outs of the game. And even if you do, your experience isn't the same. And I've had parents every year come up to me and they talk about their son or daughter. And they said, you know what? When she was 12, she was the best on her Tiddlywinks team. Put Tiddlywinks to the side, insert any sport in front of you. And then, when she was 10, she was on the traveling Tiddlywinks team. She was scouted in 7th grade. And she went to AAU Tiddlywinks. And I sent her to the University of Michigan Tiddlywinks camp, and she was the best there. And I said, ma'am, see those 10 juniors and seniors there that are part of the Tiddlywinks varsity team? All their parents told me the same thing. Everyone. Except they have 2 to 3 years NCAA experience. We're not the coaches. So if you're calling a coach to negotiate more playtime, that's an error, because the coach has coached hundreds of college athletes. The coach has a plan not only for your son or daughter, understands how they're doing in practices, how they're doing yesterday, the week before, but has a plan not only for this season, but has a plan for the whole team, and has a developmental plan for the next 2, 3, 4 years. We don't have that advantage. So in a sense, we need to facilitate and say, honey, if you are upset about the lack of playtime you have you talked to your assistant coach? Have you talked to your head coach about it? Maybe come up with a plan. Maybe there's a conditioning, a routine, or a technique, or something you could be doing different in practice. And if she says, no, Mom, he won't listen to me. I'm only a freshman. You call him. Don't. Don't get into that. It gets so easy because you know You've been there. You made the sacrifice at 6 in the morning. You got the station wagon or the minivan and you drove wherever. Nothing worse than hockey. I don't even want to get it. We don't have hockey here. Hockey, I mean, at the end, you feel like a coach just based on having the, I mean, who has 5 o'clock in the morning playtimes for these things? We're getting up at 3:30. You feel you're kind of entitled to a little coaching on the side. But that's just not the reality. It's not helpful to the student athlete. Our role at this stage is more like consultants. Because the consultant advises the client on different options, strategizes on different decisions that the client could make, tries to show the possible outcomes to the client. But the consultant does not execute the decision. Ultimately, the client must. The difference is the consultant gets paid and you're paying, so I understand. There goes my metaphor, okay? But the thing is, at this point, it's so important that they are able to develop these skills on their own. But we are partners in this venture. We are partners in their success. But their success is only possible if they learn to take ownership of their education and not delegate to us. Because this happens too. They come to me. And they figure, the vice president makes some phone calls, can make some things happen. But I resist the urge or the temptation to do so. It's precisely so they can develop these skills on their own. But the good news is, together they develop them. Together we can help them develop them by facilitating their college education, but avoiding the temptation to over-facilitate. And it can be done, and I've seen it done every year. But it is very tempting for us to interrupt that process. So together we are partners. And what I want you to do is in November, I don't want you to text. I don't want you to email. Get a sheet of this thing called paper and write them a letter as their first finals are looming and say to them, honey, I love you. I believe in you. I know you work hard. All I ask is you give 100%. That's it. Not 99 and not more than 100, because mathematically that doesn't work. Just 100. If you try your hardest, know whatever it is, the outcome is, that we're here for you and we love you and we can't wait to see you at Christmas. All will be well, as long as you try your best. And that's it. You don't have to time it. And they will keep the letter. And hopefully, they won't read it to strangers that you've never met. But at the end of it, they'll never forget you for it. I haven't. And yes, I got a B in Spanish. Thank you, Dad. Thanks to all of you for your attention. Have a great day. God bless.